Good afternoon. Our topic, we decided to do HR versus State of the Union, and we are taking this project on as like in a different perspective as HR professionals, and we found out the State of the Union is going to affect HR in many ways. And so what a summary of the State of the Union is the current President of the United States gives a brief summary of what's going to happen in the next year. And this year, President Donald Trump, in January, gave a presentation that's pretty much going to affect these very large categories such as healthcare. We have effects on immigration and veterans and even more. And we were shocked to see how much it's going to affect HR in the next year. And one of the largest categories that will affect pretty much all Americans in the country is healthcare and benefits. And why is it such a big deal? Us as employees in any company who's eligible, they strive to get a great healthcare package and benefit package, so that's going to affect them tremendously. And a huge topic of discussion is the paid leave. Many employers do not offer that right now, but President Donald Trump would like to initiate that. And there's a new policy that could allow the employers to be credited those expenses. So an eligible employee can earn that paid leave, but the employer will be able to be credited to that with an insurance company. And then last but not least, healthcare coverage in the workplace, which, like I said before, it affects everybody who's eligible for that. President Donald Trump had stated in the State of the Union address that he would like to totally get rid of the Affordable Care Act that President Obama had implemented during when he was in office. And the Affordable Care Act allowed people to get affordable health care insurance all around the country. And with that being totally eliminated, it's going to make the cost of healthcare skyrocket, and it's going to cause a lot of people to not have healthcare coverage or the healthcare coverage that they desire. And then, of course, it's going to change recruiting in the companies. And as young professionals such as us, we look for these wonderful healthcare and benefit packages that these companies can provide to us. And if they have to do certain cuts and eliminate some of those packages, it might be hard to do some recruiting in the next year.
Okay, so another important reform that Donald Trump and his administration did was he enacted the biggest tax cuts in history. And this helps provide relief for middle-class workers and small businesses. Small businesses can deduct 20% of their business income. Donald Trump invited a company that this has affected. It's Staub Manufacturing. So basically, Trump talked about how their business is able to hire 14 more workers, they're expanding their operations, and they get to give their current employees raises. So overall, the small businesses tax cut, it's overall positive. But so middle class will have an average of $4,000 more a year, which this is because of small businesses and corporations being able to give these raises because they have this extra income. And the first $24,000 earned by a married couple is tax free. And then corporations tax rate lowered from 35% to 21%. After doing quite a bit of research, I realized that there are lots of positives and negatives to this. An example of a situation is Walmart is handing out $700 million of bonuses to their hourly workers. However, they're also spending $4 billion to buy back stock, which will benefit investors by raising the share price. So the corporation tax cuts basically helped wealthy Americans more than it did the middle class workers. But effects on HR is recruitment and selection will be more prevalent, and this is because these companies are able to expand their operations and they're going to get to start to hire more people. So, yep. That's it.
All right, so after hearing Trump's State of the Union address, it's clear that there are plans that are going to greatly affect workforce development and job training throughout the country. Trump stated in his address that he wanted to, quote, reclaim our building heritage, and he plans to rebuild the nation's infrastructure, which is going to create tons of construction jobs all over the country. He wants to do this over a 1 to 2 year period, rebuilding roads, bridges, highways, waterways, etc. And actually, since he's been elected, he's already created over 2 million new jobs. And on the border security side, We've all heard about Trump and his wall, and there have actually been efforts to stop funding for Trump's wall, but they've been failed. They've been taken to court and they denied him. And he's requested $23 billion for border security, and this would create even more construction jobs. And this is going to affect HR jobs because they're going to need lots of recruitment and selection teams out there to get people into these construction positions. And then as a result of the developing workforce in construction, human resource departments will also need to develop training programs and implement them. Training programs in infrastructure should be focused on youth entering the workforce and young adults entering the construction workforce for the first time. And with the border security for building the wall, they should be focused on experienced construction workers to help maximize the efficiency of the wall and maximize border security in turn. So it's very important for human resource departments to focus on recruitment, selection, and finding appropriate job training programs throughout the country.
Another key part of the State of the Union address was the immigration plan. The immigration plan that was laid out by the White House has 4 key pillars, the first of which being border security. Under this phase, there's going to be about $23 to $25 billion worth of spending that will be used on the border wall, including increasing border security agents, immigration judges, as well as immigration prosecutors. The next pillar is the DACA legislation. This is the kind of the biggest, it causes the most turmoil in Washington. Both sides are kind of using it to get leverage on what they really want from the whole plan and everything. They're using it as a negotiating tool for each step. So basically what DACA is anyone who was brought into the country as a child illegally is basically covered under DACA. This covers about 1.8 million immigrants, and it lays out a 10 to 12 year step plan to get them citizenship. The next phase, or the third pillar, is going to be to protect the nuclear family. So this includes when a immigrant comes to the country, they can bring that nuclear family with them. So that includes their spouses, and it includes their children. No longer will people be able to use chain immigration policies where they can bring a family member, a cousin, and just kind of roll the whole family in. And then the next is to eliminate the lottery system and repurpose visas. So what this will do is essentially make it so that the visa system is based on merit. No longer will it be random. It will look at people's skills, their moral character, and other aspects of the person's overall character to bring them in. Then, so what effects will this have on HR roles in general? So immigration plays a huge role in the agricultural industry. In Georgia, they need to fill 11,000 agricultural jobs, but they have a 9.9% unemployment rate. What this means is that people, even though they're unemployed, they're not looking for that type of labor-based job. So immigrants are going to be a main source of that workforce. This will also increase the sponsorship rate that companies have to use to sponsor their force. This is going to burden the HR areas where the paperwork and policies to actually sponsor employees through the company is going to be a much longer struggle. And then finally, what does SHRM have to say about this? SHRM's affiliate, the ACIP, has a 3-step plan. First, they want to welcome university grads and make sure that basically they have enough green cards to make sure that they eliminate the backlogs of people trying to get into the country. Nextly, they want to have a federal electronic employment verification system. So basically what this is you can put someone's name in and they can figure out if they're eligible to work within the country or not. Just have it kind of like a background check system. And then lastly, they want to increase the efficiency with a trusted employer program. So basically they want to make sure that if people are practicing good hiring skills, that they get that trusted employer and the whole process will speed up for them.
Another hot topic in the State of the Union was unemployment. According to President Trump, the national unemployment rate is at a 45-year low. How does this affect human resources? So first, people are staying with their jobs longer, and therefore there are fewer people in the applicant pool. With that, it's hard to find the perfect applicant, and so the whole process of hiring somebody is taking a lot longer than normal. And they also want to see people being affected by compensation more, because there are fewer people in the applicant pool. They're going to have to be more competitive with their benefit packages, and with that they're going to spend a lot more on compensation, and this could ultimately affect inflation within the company. And then SHRM suggested tapping into talent functions that we haven't been targeting yet. So that would be people who are veterans, those with disabilities, and we also want to look into different recruitment skills to just attract those employees. So another hot topic is new jobs. So Trump quotes, "Lift our citizens from welfare to work, from dependence to independence, and then from poverty to prosperity." And with this, he wants $1.5 trillion towards construction. This affects human resources by using external recruiting agencies. That was a big topic in our class, and we learned that a lot of these companies focus on manufacturing businesses, and so they'll definitely see effects on that. And then he also wants to get the Motor City driving again. Okay, so a lot of car companies are moving from Mexico back to Detroit, and so we'll see a lot from that. And then they'll also want to increase budgets for training and development and recruitment.
So another topic that Trump talked about in the State of the Union is he promised to improve the lives of veterans. The VA Accountability Act allows the VA to let go poor performing employees. So following this, about 1,500 employees were let go, as well as around 500 were suspended or demoted. This is going to have a huge impact on HR, specifically in the VA. Some unions may argue that this is unfair, and if they have proof that people are being let go unfairly, that could cause a lot of legal issues. HR will need to evaluate their top performing employees in order to decide what is going to make these candidates good for the new positions. And then also they want to develop effective recruiting and selection measures in order to find the right candidates. They want to determine what measures they're going to use when they select these new candidates. And then they also want to consider their culture when going through this process. They don't want to scare off the really good employees, and they don't want to scare the new employees coming in when they start their new job. They want to have the culture as good as possible. And so for our conclusion, we can just expect to see the State of the Union affecting HR in many ways, more specifically with benefits, tax cuts, workforce development, job training, immigration and employment, and then finally veterans. Any questions?